Hey BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. Hope you're all staying cool out there wherever you're living. Seems to be a massive heat wave hitting most of the country, and I haven't made many videos in the last, well, I think I haven't made a video in about a week or so, and that's mostly because of the heat and deadlines. So I am coming to you today with just a catch-up video to talk about some of the many books I have read and what I have coming up immediately. I'm always adding to my pile. But yeah, the heat has been so enervating that the last 4 days have been like 99 degrees here in Denver. And last 2 days has been 100. So, and it's going to be 100 again tomorrow. So just basically sticking inside the house. Thank goodness we have central air. I feel horribly for those who do not. What a life-altering invention. Okay, well, just again, this is just unusual for me. It's not a book haul, but I do have new books that have arrived in the mail. New history, new military history. So I need to make another video to showcase new books I've received from publishers, and so that's exciting. And I'm excited to show you what's out there and what's coming up. So, okay, so a few of these I'm going to have to show you the covers on my Kindle. I've kind of moved into the realm now. I'm writing for several different publications, both print and online. And right now, most of the galleys are just all digital. So for me to continue to review, I need to break down that that resistance I have to e-reading. And I'm getting better. And in fact, I find that my reading speed has increased with the amount of reviews that I'm now doing. So that's a great, turn of events. So it helps me knowing that in my own personal library, I can now read a bit faster. I read fiction faster, more than nonfiction or history, just because I like to take my time with the text, look at sources and stuff like that. So that I don't think will ever change. But I am kind of tackling fiction much quicker, so that's a good thing, because I am reviewing both fiction and nonfiction. So there you have it. Okay, so I think I told you about last time. I've already deleted the PDF because I need, it's going to start cluttering up my memory. But I told you I read From the River to the Sea. I think it just came out early this month, about a railroad war between the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad and the Santa Fe Railroad. And that was really interesting, and it got me kind of like getting back into Western history again. And then I picked up this other, I volunteered to read this other book that just came out. I think it's out now, or it will be in July 1st or something. I think it's July 1st. And I think I've already shown you this cover, but let's see if we can avoid the glare a little bit. It's Cheyenne Summer. You can't see summer, can you? You cannot. Oh, there it is, Cheyenne Summer, The Battle of Beecher Island, a history by Terry Mort, who also wrote The Wrath of Cochise and a couple of other books. But so I've already written the review for this. This is going to show up in the Shelf Awareness newsletter for June 18th. Wait, that's Friday. Yay! So that's coming out. I will link Shelf Awareness's site below in case you're interested. I know some of you really like to read written reviews, and you can sign up for their newsletter, and you just get access to all different types of coverage, author appearances, I think like giveaways and stuff like that, but mostly it's just all book news of all types. They cover the entire country, and they feature reviews. So anyway, I'll link Shelf Awareness below. Getting a little glitch there. So Cheyenne Summer, okay, it's the heat. It's frying my lines. Cheyenne Summer, I won't go into too much depth just because I've written the review, but it was a really great book. I think the title might have been, the subtitle possibly could have been changed or dropped just because the Battle of Beecher Island really only takes up the last 60 pages. It's really no spoiler, I don't think. Gosh, I'm getting glitches here. Okay, but the lead up is fantastic. It covers Cheyenne, the Plains Indians. It covers their history, their culture, how they trained, their structure of military. Just fantastic. And then the second part covers the antagonists, is what they call them, which is the army, the civilians, and the settlers. So it kind of it pits those two and pairs them off against each other. And then the denouement is the Battle of Beecher Island, which took place in 1868. Yes, it was about 3 years after the Civil War. On a little island in the Arikari River, which is no longer there. It's obviously been washed away or whatever, but this little unit of 50 scouts and frontiersmen under General Sandy Forsyth, who was a Civil War veteran, they were overwhelmed by hundreds of Cheyenne and Sioux warriors, and the prominent warrior there for the Cheyenne was Roman Nose. And in the battle, Roman Nose was actually killed, and he foresaw his death. But, I mean, Terry Mort just brings in all these different elements and backstory that really makes it kind of haunting. And I really enjoyed it. So I would recommend Cheyenne Summer to anyone who's interested in some Western history, Native American history, the military history, between Plains Indians and the U.S. Army post-Civil War. It was a fantastic book. Okay, so I had finished that one. These are all books I have finished in the last month and a half. I've really been doing a lot of reading, and that would account for just the slowdown in my videos. But lots of reading that I can tell you about. I'm not sure if I told you about this one. This was historical fiction. Now, it doesn't have the cover for this PDF, but it's the second in a series. I think it's the Emma Lake series. But if you like historical fiction and set in like World War II era London, England, this is yours cheerfully. That's just the cover page, so you can. By A.J. Pierce. It was kind of a quaint historical, kind of a feel-good novel, but it really covered the plight of women in wartime London and the women working in the factories. And Emmeline is what she goes by, or Emmy. She's not a gossip, an advice columnist, or at least she's helping out at this women's magazine. And she eventually moves up, but she does reporting and she kind of checks out what the women's issues are, and then there's a nice little romance going on there. A very cozy story. There's no violence or anything like that. It's just very cozy reading. So that was a recent read. Let's see, the other book I just finished is Days of Lead. Don't have the cover, unfortunately. Defying Death During Israel's War of Independence by Moshe Rashkis. Now, this is this first translation into English from Hebrew. This had come out, I think, in 1962 in Israel. And the foreword, or the introduction, preface is written by the man's son, Eric. So, but it also has a foreword by a retired Senator, Max Cleland, who was also a war vet and injured. It's a very sparse, searing, short memoir of just 1948, and when Israel was just attacked from all sides, and this is just one soldier. He was 18 years old at the time, Moshe Rashkis, and when it was written in 1962, it was a bestseller. Everyone was raving about it. David Ben-Gurion, he's even quoted in this. He's saying something like, "I've never seen, just the battle itself, the combat reflected so well in this story." But anyway, I wasn't even aware of this book, and I love my military memoir, and so I was thrilled when this one was assigned to me. And this is being put out by Apollo Publishers. So if you're interested, check it out. Again, that is Days of Lead, Defying Death During Israel's War of Independence. That's just the title page. I don't have the actual artwork, so I apologize for that. That's the thing I don't like about the books or the PDFs is sometimes you have a cover and sometimes you don't. And if I want to show you the cover, I don't have it. So I really like it when I can get a print copy. But these days, it's few and far between. And the turnaround is so quick. Sometimes I'm assigned a book, I have 2 weeks to read it, boom, and then review it. So that's where I'm at with that. Okay, so I showed you that, and then this one I do have a cover for. It's a very short book. This is Address Unknown by Catherine Cressman Taylor. I think I've talked about this before. I've already written the review. It's been sent off. I don't know when it's going to show up in that publication, but soon I hope. But this was a book or a story. I think it showed up in like, I think it was in a magazine at the time, maybe the New Yorker, or I finished this about 4 weeks ago, but anyway, it's a series of letters. It's fictional, but at the time it was published under Cressman Taylor because, back in the, was it 30s or 40s? I think she published it in the 30s. You couldn't really go by, they thought that only men could write or, would sell better. But anyway, it's letters between two friends, two very close friends, one German, one Jew, who owned a gallery together, and one moves back to Germany like 1938 or 39. 30s. It was in the run-up before the invasion of Poland. But you see the interchange in the letters, like something shifting with one of the friends, and it was really eerie, and I think the timing of this book, when you're reading it, you can transplant some of these issues into the world of maybe a year ago, if you know what I'm saying. Like, how do you really know people? Do you really know people? Do you really know your best friends? And why do people change? And stuff like that. And it really, in these little snapshots, it's powerful stuff. So, yeah, Address Unknown. I would recommend that as well. Oh, and then a little thriller action going on, which is, I wish I had the cover because it's really kind of cool, but it's 56 Days. I read this. In 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard by Blackstone Publishing. And I've already written the review on that, but this was a page turner, I have to say. It's one of the first books I've read that used the COVID lockdown as in a sense, it was its own major character, but it's about this woman a man and a woman, they meet over several days. They notice each other at a checkout line in Dublin. So it's set in Dublin, which is cool. And it's told from alternating viewpoints. Of course, there's a mystery. I don't want to give anything away, but 56 Days was the countdown of like, long story short, they start to date, and they're really getting into each other. They're really intrigued by each other, and the dialogue's very witty. It's very modern, and millennial in a way, but intelligently so. You know what I'm saying? There's an intelligent banter going on between them. But Ireland's about to call a 2-week lockdown, and they live in different apartments, and one of them's like, I know this is crazy, but what if? Because they don't want to stop seeing each other, and they would have to. They would have to isolate in a bubble for 2 weeks and not go anywhere. So they decide to move in for 2 weeks. They barely know each other. Bad things start to happen. Okay? So you kind of see right there, I'm like, oh, I like this. And then there's another character who's like a detective, and there's a dead body, and I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything else. But anyway, 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. It was a fun read. It was a fun read, and one of the first reads where current history, was brought into play in the fiction. So it was very relevant. So I think that's it for the digital stuff. that I can show you. So now I can actually show you physical books. And this was a buddy read I recently finished with Lukash at A Cruel Reader's Thesis and Patrice Jones. And we finished reading, finally, 1493. It took us about a month and a half. Big chunkster of a book. This is Uncovering the New World Columbus Created by Charles C. Mann. So we had read last year or the year before that, 1491, and it was fantastic. It was really kind of like a eye-opener, kind of like made you see the world and world history in some type of different way as far as ecology, demography, biology, just so many different ways. And in 1493, I think Charles C. Mann, he really expands on this, and he goes into it from the angle of the Columbian Exchange and how he basically argues the Columbian Exchange was far more than just one or two things. It was a world-altering event where the Columbian Exchange, and if you don't know what the Columbian Exchange is, it's just your basic historical term for how the two continents, or the major continents, exchanged once we started reaching each other via ship and everything else. Good things like fruits and animals, and transferring a place, one thing from a place that has it to another that doesn't have it, and then seeing the events of that, but also bad things like germs, bacteria, and things like that would wipe out people who didn't have immunity built up, and how, going both ways, how that affected people. So that's the Columbian Exchange, but Mann really kind of took it to another level, talking just about people, and just how really interconnected we really are, more than people think. So I just highly recommend it. It will take you a while to read it and just get through it, but a great work that encompasses history, geography, ecology, biology, science. He covers everything. Biodiversity, ethnography, you name it, this guy covers it. So we finally finished that a week or so ago, a couple weeks. No, about a week. God, I can't keep track of time. Okay. So let's get into some historical fiction. What have I read? I read The Hot Summer of 1968, a novel, and this is by William Klimacek. It's translated by Peter Petro. This is put out by a very small press called Mandel-Viller Press, and co-published with Dryad Press. I have my notes when I was reading it, because I wrote a review for this, for Historical Novels Review, which will be coming up in their next issue. This was fantastic. I love this book. It's kind of quirky and different in that, I'll tell you what it's about again. I know I've showed this on here before, but it has to do with the Prague Spring in Czechoslovakia in 1968, and then specifically when the Soviet tanks rolled in late August of 1968 and basically occupied the country, which, sorry, I can hear my neighbor. Okay, I can hear her flushing her toilet. How does that sound? So tired of that. Can't wait to move. Don't know when that's going to be. We're having a little slowdown in the housing inventory here. Anyway, segway, squirrel. So this has to do. It's supposedly fictional, but it's based on real people that William Klimacek knows or interviewed, and he changes some things about their stories, but mostly these characters are based on real people and what they did, and these are about the people who fled, who they had a chance to flee before the Soviets shut down the border with Austria. There wasn't a lot of time to decide. A lot of them, like the younger people, were students and took an opportunity to leave. Some of their family they left behind, hoping that they could get them out later. They couldn't. It's very poignant and very poignant, beautifully written. There are some beautiful turns of phrase in here that I marked out or underlined, and the people themselves just sound like the salt of the earth. But the quirky part was that sometimes the author would insert himself into the story, so it's a little jarring at times when you're supposedly reading an historical novel, and he says, "When I was doing research for this, someone told me," and I was like, "What?" It's a little bit, breaking the fourth wall or something. I think that would have been better without it. He could have put all that in the afterword or a preface or something like that. But in the end, it was a very heartfelt book, and just really kind of brought to life the people in Czechoslovakia, their culture, their love for their country, their disdain for the Soviets, and the fact that they were like, "Why are you invading another communist country? This is a betrayal of all betrayals," and then you can see the people who emigrate to United States, and most of them ended up in Canada, and they come to love their new lives, but they also show the darker side, and and the book has a definite statement to make about, the kindness of strangers and the lack of that sometimes, and just to remember that, to help out the refugee, because you don't know their story and what they're fleeing. And so The Hot Summer of 1968 was a great read, a great work in translation. I've been loving reading a lot of translated works lately. And so, yeah, I was just really pleased with that. All right. Oh, and this was just a fun book. I read it in like two days. It's so tiny. I couldn't stop reading it. I'm a new fan now, but this is like World War II historical fiction, and this is an author I'd never read before, and now I'm wanting to check out his other work. And let me know if you are also a fan. This is P.T. Duderman, and this is his new book coming out, Trial by Fire. As you can see, I got an advanced reader copy. This is put out by St. Martin's Press. This is coming out July 13th. That's the publication date. Apparently, P.T. Duderman, I did my research on him. He's written many World War II novels. They're all standalone, so it's nice. It's not like this was part of a series of characters that I need to go research or anything like that. And I'm thrilled. I would love to read more by him, so I'm going to see if I can get some of his books at the library or used. This book is based on a real event. It's set in March 1945 on the USS Franklin, which is an Essex-class aircraft carrier, which is part of Task Force 58, which was the major armada that the Navy was putting together to basically steam off to Okinawa and use that as a base for their B-29 bombers to start the bombing. And at the time, remember, well, World War II was winding down in Europe. It was still raging with Japan. Japan wasn't going. They were doggedly retreating, just island by island. Of course, they were using the kamikaze attacks, and so it wasn't a done deal that we were anywhere near finished, and no one really knew that the bomb was in the works. You know what I'm saying? So, so the Navy had to keep planning, and so. It's about the USS Franklin, who was part of Task Force 58. It had just come out of dry dock after massive repairs. It had just suffered a kamikaze attack that, amazingly, they were able to repair that. They put it back out to sea. They're part of the task force. They go out. I'm going to get some light on my face here. And while they're steaming out toward Okinawa, or heading towards, Japan, one lone Yokosuka D4Y, that's what I remember, is a Yokosuka D4Y, also known as a Judy, is what they call this Japanese aircraft, a Judy. You've heard of Zeros, but there's also Judys. That's why they called it. He somehow got through the matrix of overlapping anti-aircraft fire from all these different cruisers, destroyers, broke through the clouds, broke through the hard deck there, and saw an opportunity, zoomed in, flew over the Franklin, and dropped a 500-pound bomb straight plumb center on the aircraft deck, the flight deck. Well, that pierced the flight deck, And at the time, there was like these gale force winds happening, and they were getting ready to do a launch of the fighters. Normally, they fuel or at least arm them on the flight deck. The hangar deck is below the flight deck. Well, because of the adverse weather conditions, that hangar deck had at least 24 aircraft fighters, fighter planes, fully fueled, completely topped off, and fully equipped with armament, ready to go. So all he had to do was take the little elevator lift up to the flight deck, get kind of spooled up into the back end, and then launched. Well, obviously the 500-pound bomb unleashed living hell in the hangar deck. Everything was obliterated. Anyone in there was obliterated. And then it just caused this massive fire. The gallery, you know what? It's a fantastic story. All I can say is that Duderman did a wonderful job of imagining this from the perspective of the officers and the ensigns from every level, what it was like. And here's the other thing about this book. It is truly authentic. Duderman was in the Navy for 26 years. He was a Navy captain and later on a Commodore. Now, the one thing about this, and it's not a slight because I love authenticity, but I think I needed some type of schematic so that I could look inside visually on a chart or something and look inside the aircraft carrier, because there is authentic Navy jargon, and not even jargon, just the descriptions of the ship. If you're not, used to reading about ships, or just basic, but also pretty advanced naval descriptions of the different levels and the hatches and the equipment and the mechanical stuff. I mean, it's very detailed. So at first you're like, what? But I loved it because it was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I just envisioned men going down into hatches, coming across burning fuel, and and the things that they saw in there were horrific. And this was a true story. The USS Franklin lost over 800 men. And a lot of them had to jump the ship to avoid the burning aviation gas. But I don't want to give away too much. I just say, please go out and read Trial by Fire. I love this book. This is a great story. And I'm a new P.T. Duderman fan. I want to read his other stuff. And I'm almost done with this book, and I need to write a review by this Friday or Saturday. This is historical fiction. It's more of a mystery, so we're kind of moving away from war stuff, but we're going back to, I read, and I was so pleased with the first book in this series, which I also reviewed for Historical Novels Review. And so when I had the opportunity, when I saw the author had the second in the series, I was like, I need to do that because I've already read and reviewed his first for this publication. And so I will also be reviewing this for both of these, all three of these last three books. I'll be reviewing for Historical Novels Review. But anyway, this is Crooked in His Ways by S.M. Goodwin. This is a Leitner and Law mystery. The first book in this series that I read was Absence of Mercy. And that's where he introduces Jasper Leitner. He's an English duke, or a duke's son, who has a stammer and a metal plate in his head from when he fought in the Crimean War. And the stammer is either a part of what happened to him there, his PTSD, and the plate in his head. And sometimes he loses memory for a while. So he's dealing with real issues, but he's a fantastic detective. And he pairs up with a very interesting, just an up-and-coming young, buck detective on the New York Metropolitan Police Force, Hieronymus Law. And so the first one kind of set the tone, gave you the background, and now they're really coming into their stride in this one and working very well together, very procedural, great cast of characters. I am not too far away from finishing, about less than 100 pages to go. And I have read, I'm breezing through this. I started reading it 4 days ago. So again, like you can see, I am really reading fiction much faster. And so yeah, as you can see, I'm a reading fool. Now, so I had some hard deadlines. And this one's only, well, I had some hard deadlines. I got a little bit of grace on this one because I got it late and it was due yesterday, but I will get it in by the end of this week. But so now I have a little bit of breathing room, right? Well, so I do, but these are things I want to start. So I'm going to show you some of the things I'm going to show you some of the books I'm going to be starting soon. Oh, and let me just say, just for fun, well, it's all fun. I enjoy reading and reviewing. But there's sometimes at night where I'm like, okay, I'm going to read something just for me. And I'm just like, woo! Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine. I'm almost halfway through this issue of May, June. It's really fun. It's really fun stuff. So that's been on my reading table as well. So now that I've gotten those 3 books done and then a bunch of others that I had deadlines for that were within 2 weeks of being assigned them, but I told you guys I was going to be reading this because you guys voted for it. It's the Anglo-Soviet Alliance, Comrades and Allies During World War II. I haven't had a chance to start it, but I am. Now that I've got these 3 done, I can dig in. And so I'm hoping to have this done for you soon. Next book I'm going to be starting reading is African Europeans, An Untold History by Olivet O'Teal. This is put out by Basic Books. I'm excited for this. I had an opportunity to review this for the BookBrowse review, which I will. I'll have be writing a review for this by the end of the month. So I'll be starting this here probably this weekend. It doesn't look like too long of a book, but I'll give you a brief description. I'm already at 31 minutes. Sorry, guys, it's just so much to catch up on. As early as the 3rd century, St. Maurice, an Egyptian, became leader of the legendary Roman Theban Legion. Ever since, there have been richly varied encounters between those defined as Africans and those called Europeans. Yet Africans and African Europeans are still widely believed to be only a recent presence in Europe. Olivet O'Teal traces a long African-European heritage through the lives of individuals both ordinary and extraordinary. She uncovers a forgotten past, from Emperor Septimius Severus to enslaved Africans living in Europe during the Renaissance, and all the way to present-day migrants moving to Europe's cities. By exploring a history that has been long overlooked, she sheds light on questions very much alive today, on racism, identity, citizenship, power, and resilience. So I'm really pleased to be covering that. And then this little slim volume, it's from Other Press, and I've been commissioned to write a review for this, for Shelf Awareness. And this is just straight up nonfiction. Forever Free, A True Story of Hope in the Fight for Child Literacy by Tracy Swinton Bailey, PhD. And, I'm very passionate about literacy. I think most of us here on BookTube are. I think I might have shown this book on the channel before, but I was really pleased to see that it was a book that Shelf Awareness wanted covered. So I said, I have it. Let me do it. This is a memoir and a call to action. It's a look at America's long-standing struggle to adequately educate vulnerable children and offers valuable insights for affecting change in families, communities, and nationwide. There's a lot of description here. I don't want to take up too much more time. Let's see. Numerous programs are operating around the country to address the issue of underperformance in light of the shortcomings of our public school system. In Forever Free, Tracy Bailey charts the journey of one such program, her nonprofit Freedom Readers. From a childhood shaped by books to a career promoting the love of reading, she describes the hurdles and rewards of academia, teaching, mobilizing, and fundraising. Bailey outlines clearly and persuasively how Freedom Readers' one-on-one tutoring model has worked in the rural South and how it can work across the U.S. This book will inspire and empower readers and should be placed in the hands of educators and organizers at every level. That sounds like a program I might want to look into and see if I can volunteer for, because I am all about literacy. So Forever Free. So I'll be reading this very soon and writing a review. So right now I've got these 3 I need to start immediately. July. Oh, it's over here. 1 second. Okay, so it's still June, but I'm getting ready. We've already picked out a book. Bill Rutenberg and I are going to be doing another buddy read, and we will do a buddy chat this time, or a book chat to talk about our reactions. But we decided to read Thaddeus Stevens' Civil War Revolutionary Fighter for Racial Justice. We're going to read this one together in July. It's by Bruce Levine. This is by... What publisher is this? Please, Simon & Schuster. So look for that. We're excited. That'll be in July, and I'm sure he'll be talking about it, and I'll be talking about it. I know that I have more. I've already gotten assigned another book. I guess it's pretty big, and it's due on July 5th. So stay tuned on that. I haven't opened it up yet just because I wanted to focus on finishing some of this other stuff. Yeah, and then the books keep coming in. And another thing I want to start reading is some military fiction from Casemate. Now, I'm going to highlight that in the next video, which will be on the new arrivals that I've gotten. And so stay tuned for that. Okay, I think that kind of covers... Wasn't that enough? It's 36 minutes. Am I reading enough for you guys? Am I reading enough? Woo! Tell me what you think. Tell me what interests you. If you have any questions about any of these books I've shown. Love hearing from y'all. Thanks to all the new subscribers. I've been meeting a lot of you in the comment sections. I'm so pleased that you found the channel, and I hope you find a lot of good stuff here and in my archives. I still need to make a Civil War books roundup part 2. I've been getting a few requests for that. People would like to see some more Civil War books. And I think I might be having a couple arriving from some publishers. So brand new releases, and I'm really excited to read them. So stay tuned for that. Okay, BookTube, I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye.